Hello, friends. How we doing out there? Let me know if you can hear me. All right, good stuff. Let me tweet it out so we can get everyone else in here, and then we'll get started with some answers to your questions. All right. What's everyone drinking out there? I know we branded this as hops with pop, but I didn't have any beers in the fridge. So we're doing a little Sauvignon Blanc tonight. Cheers to Thirsty Thursday to everybody. Let me know what you're drinking out there. Kona Big Wave, great beer. Love that selection. Can't go wrong with a Miller Lite. Love that. Drinking NyQuil. Not going to say I would suggest that. Not sure you're going to make it through the stream, but if you're looking to fall asleep in 15 minutes, NyQuil's a great choice. Always Modelo. Can't go wrong with the Modelo. Some pre-workout before the gym. Not totally our vibe here on Hops with Pop, but respect to you. Love that. Little Bush Light. Enlightened ice cream. I don't even know what that is. Trevor Black says he's drinking enlightened ice cream. Let me know what that is. If it's a beer, I'll try it. Pendleton Midnight Whiskey. Love that. It is Thursday. Have yourself a whiskey. We approve of that here on Hops on Pop. Someone says they're drinking the Chargers Kool-Aid. Many reasons to do that. Many reasons to be excited. Can't blame you for that one. All right. I got about a half hour for you guys tonight. So I think we got everybody in here off of Twitter. So let's get started with some questions. A little disappointed you aren't wearing the Shohei shirt. I'm not exactly sure what environment I'll be able to wear that shirt in. I might just wear it around the house. He's not on my fantasy team, but he's the most amazing baseball player I've ever seen in my entire life. So, all right, get your questions in now because I'm just gonna stay at the bottom of the chat and just answer questions as they come in. So get those questions in now, and I will start answering them for you guys. Okay, let's start. Should you guys be worried about Mike Williams' hip flexor injury? Any timetable? No, I wouldn't be worried. Brandon Staley said today that he would have played if it was a game week, a regular season game week. So doesn't seem like anything significant. One big difference here with this staff is that they are being very, very careful about any little injury that pops up. So I know you guys are used to, me tweeting out this guy's not practicing or this guy left the scrimmage or this guy left the game or whatever. And then it always ends up being the worst case scenario. But I think at least for now, you guys can relax a little bit when you see someone's not practicing or anything like that, or they've left a scrimmage or anything along those lines, because they are just being overly cautious with injuries when it comes to their star players. It's smart. Straight up. Period. End of story. Like, it's smart to handle injuries that way in the preseason, especially for a team like the Chargers that has been so injured. I mean, you go back the last 2 seasons, and what's the one thing that has prevented this team from being successful with all the talent they have in the roster? And it's been injuries. I mean, you could talk about other things, right? You can talk about game management stuff. You can talk about some of the frustrating things in terms of the simplicity of the defense. But number one is injuries for this team. And I think that Brandon Staley's taking a really good approach with that in that area. So no, I don't think it's concern. But obviously, if I hear anything else, you guys can read about that on The Athletic. Let's keep moving on here. What's the scoop on Kenneth Murray? Same deal. He rolled it in the scrimmage. He was ganging up on a tackle on Mike Williams, like the first play of 11 on 11 there on the sideline at SoFi, and just rolled his ankle. It's taped up right now at practice, but he seems to be moving okay. I've been watching him a little bit on the rehab field, and it doesn't seem like anything significant. He's not going to play Saturday. A lot of guys aren't going to play Saturday. But it does not seem to be anything significant. And I would bet that Kenneth Murray is back on the field for those joint practices with the 49ers next week. Timetable for Murray, just did that. Is Bosa playing the preseason? So basically what happened is Brandon Staley today's press conference was like, Herbert's not playing. We asked about Herbert, said Herbert's not playing. We asked about Derwin, said Derwin's not playing. And then he basically said any guy that's proven is not going to play in the preseason. And so we sort of left it at that. There were a couple other questions about, Eckler. He mentioned specific guys, Lindsley, Bulaga, Linval Joseph. But the implication was there, and you can go read about it at The Athletic. If you don't subscribe, the link is below. Click that link. You can subscribe and read all about my takes on the guys not playing in the preseason. But the implication was that none of the star players, guys that what they bring to the table, they're not going to play in the preseason. And Joey Bosa absolutely falls into that mold. Perhaps the most proven player on the roster, outside of Corey Lindsley and Bulaga, some of the veterans. So I do not expect Joey Bosa to play. We don't have official confirmation, but I don't think Joey Bosa is going to see the field in the preseason. How much of a disappointment would losing to Washington in week 1 be for this team? I don't think it would be a huge disappointment. I'm higher on Washington than a lot of people are. Defense tends to be less sticky than offense in terms of production. So a really good defense is harder to carry over year to year than a really good offense. It tends to fluctuate more. It tends to be a little more volatile. But they've got a damn good front. They added a bunch in free agency in that secondary, if I'm not mistaken. Point being, Ron Rivera is a great defensive coach. They've got the front, one of the best fronts in the league. And then I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to do a lot with that offense. They've got excellent skill position players. Obviously added Curtis Samuel. Terry McLaurin obviously is coming on as one of the best young receivers in the league. Antonio Gibson, both as a runner and a pass catcher, he has a lot of explosive traits. And then I saw Fitzpatrick with the Jets in 2015 lead them almost to the playoffs. So I don't think it would be a huge disappointment. Obviously, you want to see him go out and compete, right? And the one thing I'll be watching in that game, which I can tell you right now, is, okay, what does this offensive line look like? Are they protecting Herbert, and can they get an efficient running game going against one of the best fronts, one of the most talented fronts in the league? So that's really what I'll be watching. But I think about it. The Chargers beat the Colts in week 1 in 2019, right? Philip Rivers led that drive in overtime. It was an epic game, and everyone's like, all right, the Chargers are on track. What happened? They went 5-11. So I don't think you can read too much out of a week 1 game. So I wouldn't, the sky isn't falling if they lose to Washington. Washington has a talented defense and obviously has those weapons on offense. So I think they'll be in playoff contention this year. Let me look this up, because now I'm like, pretty sure they added somebody in the secondary, but I can't remember right now. So I'm looking up their depth chart. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't wrong. Yeah. They added William Jackson, great corner from Cincinnati. So I was right. Good job, Pop. All right, let's keep going. Who can you guys root for in the preseason, since no starters are going to play? Any dark horses? We talked about it. I talked about it on the Locked On Chargers podcast. If you guys haven't checked that out, Amen Ogbongbemiga, he's going to play, and I think he has a pretty good shot of making the 53-man roster. So he's somebody to watch. And then, there are 9 defensive backs who are definitely going to make the 53-man roster. And I actually was talking to Jeff Miller about this today, so I wrote it down. Here are your 9. Derwin James, Nasir Adderley, Chris Harris, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., Brandon Faison, Alohi Gilman, Mark Webb, Ryan Smith. That's 9. The question is, will they keep 10? And if they do keep 10, who is that 10th guy? And that, to me, is a very interesting thing to watch because those guys are all going to get a lot of run in this game. There's really 4 guys there. Keemon Hall, John Brannon, Dante Vaughn, Tavon Campbell. They all bring a little bit different skill set to the table. Brannon, I think, has had the best camp of the 4. He's had 3 interceptions in team drills so far in camp. So obviously he's making plays, but Keemon Hall has been more present on first-team special teams units, and he does have inside-outside flexibility. He's been playing in the slot and outside in practice, and Brandon Staley obviously covets that. Dante Vaughn has a different type of flexibility, play outside corner, but he's also been getting a lot of run at safety. And then Tavon Campbell, obviously a guy you are familiar with from last season. They signed him from the CFL. And he had an up and down year last year. He was playing slot corner when Desmond King was in the doghouse, and he was sort of the culprit on that Broncos comeback when KJ Hamler caught that game-winning touchdown from Drew Lock. He's got all the physical traits, but I asked Brandon Staley about it the other day, and he's talking about how we need to get his mind up to speed with where his physical traits are. So all these guys bring something different to the table, and that's something that I'll be watching is sort of what's going on with that potential 10th cornerback spot. I'll be watching Amen Agbangbamiga. Is he on special teams? What does he look like in real game action at that inside linebacker spot? And then, you're going to be seeing a lot of these depth defensive linemen in there as well. Braden Fajoko, Joe Gaziano, Forrest Merrill, these guys, right? They're going to get a lot of playing time, and that's really wide open. Right now I'm keeping a rolling 53. I've got them keeping 5 defensive linemen. So right now I have all of those guys off the roster. It's Jerry Tillery, Justin Jones, Linval Joseph, Christian Covington, and Cortez Broughton. Now, can one of those guys ascend and show enough on film to prove themselves worthy of that 6th defensive line spot? I'll be watching that as well. So there's plenty. If you are a diehard fan of this team, there's plenty to be looking for in this game that will impact the season, because guess what? You guys know this better than any fan base in the league. Depth matters. It matters because you need every player on the 53-man at some point in the season, and guys in the practice squad. So some of these guys proving that they can play at this level is really important. Then the other thing, we got a kicker battle. Am I the only one that cares about the kicker battle? Because guess what? You need a trustworthy kicker in there on the roster, or you're going to lose games straight up. So Michael Badgley, Tristan Vizcaino, both going to get a shot to kick in this game. I still firmly believe that Tristan Vizcaino is going to win this battle, but kicking in a game environment matters. That's going to hold more weight than any practice kicking, any scrimmage kicking. So what happens there? So, what's that? 8 storylines I just gave you? Plenty to root for you guys. Plenty to look for, plenty to watch. I didn't even mention the 3rd wide receiver battle. I think Jalen Guyton, Tyron Johnson, Josh Palmer, all going to play and are all going to get a bunch of snaps because Keenan's not playing and Mike Williams isn't playing, right? So who can make a play in that receiving corps? Joe Reed is on the outside looking in of my 53-man right now. Same with KJ Hill. Those guys, can they show up and make plays? Joe Reed had a good practice today, made a couple catches in 7-on-7, but that's a big battle right now, and those guys got to show up in these games on offense and special teams if they want a shot at making the roster. So there's 9 storylines. Plenty to watch. There you go. Ryan Smith in danger of being cut? No chance. Washington football team D-line scares me too. I'm looking at the depth chart right now. I agree. Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat. That's a fierce line. It'll be a test. This offensive line will be tested week 1. We will all know what this offensive line is made of week 1. We'll know immediately. Can this group be what they look like on paper? We'll know week 1. Week 1. If they can keep Herbert clean in this game against a really, 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 really good defensive line, including one of the best up-and-coming pass rushers in football in Chase Young, that's a great litmus test right off the bat. So definitely fascinated to see what happens in that game, especially that specific matchup, offensive line versus defensive line. Chargers, Washington. Week 1, September 12th. With most of the starters not starting any preseason games, what you'll be looking for from the reserves rookies, kind of just went through all that, and touched on the rookies too. Yeah. Rashawn Slater, specifically with the rookies, I think Rashawn Slater will get 2 series in this first preseason game. And then I would not be shocked if he doesn't play again in the preseason because he's just such an important piece. And then we'll see how Asante Samuel looks. Obviously written about him a lot. We've talked about him a lot. He's got the right mentality to play cornerback in this league. But there's a steep learning curve for any rookie cornerback. So, and then I mentioned Josh Palmer earlier. Yeah. How do special teams look? That's another storyline that we didn't even touch on for this preseason game. There's only so much you can glean from special teams drills. How does it look in live action? That's important. How does the punt coverage look? How does the punt protection look? Those are 2 things that struggled last year. How does the kickoff coverage look? How does the field goal operation look? How do these long snappers look? Both on their snaps and in protection, because that's Cole Mazza struggled last year. Not necessarily snapping the ball, but protecting after he snapped the ball. There were some ugly moments on film last year. So we'll have to touch on that next Thursday, because, seeing this in live action is going to be really important in terms of my evaluation and more importantly in terms of the team's evaluation, Darius Swin's evaluation. How does Michael Davis look? Looks good. Yeah, looks good. It's a different scheme, so he's playing a lot more man. He's on an island more, so he's going to get beat some. But he had a nice pass breakup today. He's showing up with plays on the ball in pretty much every single practice. So, we'll see what happens in the season. Can he be that number 1 cornerback for this team? They certainly believe that he can be that player because they paid him. But we'll have to wait for live action to really have a determination on is he ascending to be that type of number 1 cornerback that they believe he can be, or is he more of that really good number 2 that isn't quite a number 1, which I think he is. But if he takes a big step this year in a new scheme that complements his skill set better, maybe he can prove himself to be that type of corner because he has those physical traits. What position group has the least depth, in your opinion? Offensive line, defensive line, safety. Do you predict a Herbert sophomore slump? So this is a tough question because I think people might look at his stats at the end of the year and be like, okay, he had a worse second season than he did first season because he didn't put up the same type of numbers in terms of touchdowns and yardage. But I don't think that's really a good indication of whether Herbert's improving. I could see a scenario where his statistics are worse, but he's playing better and winning more games. I wrote about this in a mailbag in the spring. It comes down to a couple things. Herbert was exceptional on third down and exceptional when under pressure last year. He had the best under pressure season of any quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger in 2012. Better under pressure passer rating than Russell Wilson has ever amassed. Better under pressure passer rating than Aaron Rodgers has ever amassed. And a better under pressure passer rating than Patrick Mahomes has ever amassed. So that's what we're talking about. Elite play when under pressure. And his third down stats were among the best in the league. Those 2 areas are volatile. Performance in those areas do not typically carry over from year to year when you're playing at the type of level that Herbert was playing at. So what does that mean? In order for him to continue to play on a similar level, he has to improve in the more sticky areas, the less volatile areas. And that is first and second down performance. And that is clean pocket performance. I expect him to improve in those areas. He has seen more football. He has more experience. I think he's getting better coaching this year. And so that leads me to believe that he can absolutely be a better quarterback on first and second down, and be a better quarterback with a clean pocket to offset whatever regression might happen in those other areas, third down performance and under pressure performance. So to summarize, I think that there is a very good chance that his stats overall are worse, but I would not necessarily consider that a sophomore slump. I'm going to measure Herbert's season based on how many wins the Chargers have ultimately. And I know that wins are not a quarterback stat, but the Chargers window is right now. It's this season, it's next season, and it's 2023. Because that's when they have Herbert on a rookie deal. That's when they can pay Joey Bosa a ton of money. That's when they can pay Keenan Allen a bunch of money. That's when they can pay Derwin James a bunch of money, right? That's before Herbert comes up for his extension. So I need to see overall team performance improve. And if his stats are worse and the team's winning, I don't consider that a sophomore slump. Who has been the best DT in camp so far? Linval Joseph. I mean, he's just so consistent. But I get made fun of for this, but I really like Justin Jones's game. And I think he's going to be getting a lot more one-on-one matchups this year. And I would expect a breakout season from him this year. And I've seen the flashes in one-on-ones. I know he has that pass rushing capability. I think he was just taking on a lot of double teams in Gus Bradley's scheme on the interior. And I think Brandon Staley, especially with all the talent they have with Uchenna Nwosu and Joey Bosa on the outside, Jerry Tillery in there moving around in different positions, I think that Brandon Staley is going to be able to get Justin Jones in one-on-one opportunities and pass rushing situations. And I think you're going to see a breakout season from him in terms of pressures, in terms of sacks. So Linval Joseph has been the best because he's just a consistent presence and he's an enormous human being. But if we're looking for a breakout candidate, I think Justin Jones. How's Ibushi? Ode Ibushi, right guard? Good. Big body. And I've liked what I've seen in pass protection one-on-ones. Sturdy, solid presence. Definitely going to be a better guard than the Chargers have seen since I've been covering the team. And the same can be said for Matt Filer. Just reliable presences, like legitimate pro football players on the interior. What position group has shown the most improvement since the beginning of camp? That's a tough question. Where do I want to go with this? Let's say cornerback. I think that they're starting to get really comfortable in the scheme. Asante Samuel Jr. is starting to make plays. I like I mentioned earlier, I like what a lot of these lower in the depth chart cornerbacks are doing between John Brannon and Keemon Hall. They got a good group of cornerbacks. And then obviously, Chris Harris is what he is, right? A great player and one of the best slot corners of his generation. But I think Michael Davis has started to come on as of late, making more plays on the ball, like I said. So, I mean, it's a really complex scheme. And the corners are going to be asked to do a lot on the outside in terms of man coverage, something that they were not asked to do in Gus Bradley's scheme. So I would go with them because I think top to bottom, you've seen that group really coalesce and find more comfort in the scheme as they've gotten more training camp practices in. All right, what else we got here? What's happening in the chat here? I'm seeing messages retracted. What's going on? People arguing. All right, get those questions in. I've got 5 to 10 more minutes for you guys. So give me some good questions. We got Canada in the house. We got Brazil in the house. Let's see. We got Mexico in the house. We are global. We are global. Remember that. Hops on Pop, global. If you're from a different country, throw it in the chat. We'll get a shout out here. We got Mexico, we got Brazil, we got Canada. Anybody else? All right, Tillery. Do you think Tillery will be a starter? Yes. We got guilty as charged in the chat here. Let's see what their question is. You mentioned in your article that the Chargers' plan for Bulaga mirrors that of the plan the Packers had in 2019. Is that simply managing his reps in practice, or is there more to it than that? Mostly managing reps, I would say. Just when they're scheduling the days off, how often they're scheduling the days off, and all of that in the context of, okay, what's his mileage? What is his GPS tracking looking like? And then adapting that schedule based on what they're seeing. Bulaga didn't want to go into too much detail about it. I tried to press him on it a little bit. My interpretation is it's just a plan of like, okay, you're not going to do team drills 3 days in a row. That's just a hypothetical, but that's essentially, what the plan is. And then a lot of it is what he called prehab. Basically, a routine of weightlifting, stretching, different exercises so that they can get his body in the right shape to practice when those days are scheduled. So it's a lot of stuff. It's a layered, complex plan for a guy that has had a lot of injuries in his career. Yeah. What else we got? Illinois in the house. I love that. Shout out Illinois. Not really a different country, but who will be the primary between tackles back? So, Austin Eckler is going to be the primary back. Right now, it's looking like Justin Jackson is the number 2 back as long as he can stay healthy. And then I think if you're talking about a physical bruiser back, that's between Josh Kelly and Larry Roundtree. And I think that Larry Roundtree has been the better back in camp so far. This guy is physical. Like, they're not hitting full speed, but every time he finishes a run, like he's looking for contact. And when you hear those pads hit, like you look on the field and almost always it's Larry Roundtree who's running the rock. So I like what I've seen from him. He's got good, good play speed. Obviously, he fell in the draft because he didn't have that 40 time, but that doesn't really show up on the field. And then he's a, contributor on special teams. So those guys are both physical guys. Josh Kelly brings more athleticism. But if you're talking about the short yardage, physical type back, it's going to be those two guys duking it out for that job. Do you go to both home and away games? I do. This year I do. Last year I didn't because of the pandemic, but is Josh Kelly gone? No, I got him on the 53 man right now. I had adjusted my rolling 53 man, and now I have 4 running backs on there. But I'm not going to divulge any more secrets because I want you to read it when it comes out on The Athletic. Primary fullback is Gabe Neighbors. Kick punt returns. How's it looking? As bad as some people say. Can we talk about this for a second? Like, I feel like some of you guys come to like one practice and then like throw all of this stuff on Twitter, and then it becomes like a trope among Chargers fans. Like, I went on the Locked On Chargers podcast yesterday, and like apparently there's some narrative that Herbert like is bad all of a sudden. Like, where does that come from? People are my mentions being like Ibushi has apparently looked bad. Like, where does that come from? Like, if you want to know what's going on with the Chargers, either go to every single practice, and if you've done that, shout out to you. If not, read my stuff because I've watched every play. Look at this notebook. You see this? I filled up this entire notebook in one training camp with every single play they've run. I've watched every single snap. So some of these things just blow my mind. The punt and kick return is fine. The punt returners look good. KJ Hill, Austin Prohl, I think those are the two guys battling it out. Jalen Guyton's been catching punts. They look great. Yeah, I don't see any issues in terms of that operation. I worry about, with KJ Hill and Austin Pearl, I don't think they're the most explosive punt returners, but hell, this team was so bad last year in that area on all across special teams. As long as you just have a functional guy back there that can catch the ball and fair catch it, like that's fine. So yeah, I don't know where that's coming from either. Which away game are you looking forward to most? I think Vegas, just because I've never seen that stadium, and I think that'll be dope. But selfishly, Philly, just because it's close to home and I'll get to see some friends. All right, guys, we just hit the 30-minute mark, and my Sauvignon Blanc's almost gone. This is about 2 sips. Now 1 sip. It's funny how that works, huh? I will take 3 more questions. 3 more questions. Okay? The 3 best questions, or the ones that make me laugh, because I like to get some humor in here with Hops on Pop. Which, like 3 episodes in, I've already screwed the branding by not having beer. I'm mad at myself. But, sometimes I like a nice glass of Sauvignon. What's wrong with that? All right, 3 more questions. We're out of wine. 3 more questions. All right. Like this one. This camp seems to have been the most competitive in the last few years. How can you compare this camp to previous camps and even other teams' camps you covered in the past? This is the most crisp, precise training camp I've ever seen. I mean, there is intention, and we've talked about this before on here. Everything has intention that they do on the field. Like, there's no wasted time. Like, if they are out there for an hour and a half, they are spending all 90 minutes doing something toward being a better football team. And there's a pace to practice that I haven't really seen before. There's an energy, and I think that leads to the competition that you're talking about, because there's a standard that Brandon Staley has in terms of this is how we practice. Like, we're not moping around. Like, no one's going to come out here and say, oh, wow, this looks sluggish today. Like, that's not going to be us. It's going to be crisp. It's going to be precise. Everything we do is going to have intention, and that is permeating around practice right now. So does it mean anything? I don't know. Will it lead to success? I don't know. But what I can tell you is it looks different. It looks different than anything I've seen before in my time covering the NFL. All right. Good question. Christoph Sevilla. Shout out. Good question. Oh, God. Oh, man. We're gonna go off the rails here. What Colin Cowherd's take on the LA move? What did he say? Someone tell me what Colin Cowherd said. I don't listen to his show. So what did Colin Cowherd say? Apparently Colin Cowherd said something about, what did you think of Colin Cowherd's take on the LA move and announcement he bought season tickets? Sounds positive, but I don't know. Help me out here, chat. Nothing? Oh, Colin said it was a good business move. Chargers made the right decision. Can't blame Spanos. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna have an opinion on that right now. You guys read me. We do these chats all the time. What have I said from the jump? I'm not gonna have an opinion on this, whether it was a good move or a bad move, until I have enough information to make that decision, and I can't, formulate that opinion without even seeing a regular season game. Like, I have no idea how many people have bought season tickets. The Chargers can say that there's this many people that have bought season tickets, but I'm a reporter. I'm a journalist. Like, I need to see stuff with my own eyes. I need to corroborate the information that the team is giving me in order to actually have an opinion. So, like I've been saying all along, we'll see what happens. First home game is week 2 against the Cowboys, and then we'll see what happens over the course of the season in terms of the attendance, in terms of what the crowd looks like, and then we'll be able to really have a determination like, okay, this thing is legitimately heading in the right direction, or it's just PR speak. That's where I'm at with it. I'm not counting that question because I want to talk about football. That's why we do these things. We talk football. Do the players have a high respect for Staley? Yes. Unquestionably, yes. And they had the same type of respect for Anthony Lynn. Let's be real. I mean, the Chargers players respected Anthony Lynn as a leader, as a man, as a member of the community, as a football coach. Yeah. Things went south with Anthony Lynn, but it's not like he lost the team or anything like that. I mean, they respected the guy 100%. But Staley has commanded respect in a different way. He is a savant. I mean, that's how I keep describing him, and that's really the best way. Like, he thinks about football at a level that, like, I can't even wrap my mind around. It's that level of intelligence. And that type of intelligence and the ability to communicate information the way he does, it just demands respect. Like, and he said in his intro presser, a pro player is going to know if you know your shit or you're bullshitting them in 5 seconds. And that's what you got 5 seconds to prove to these guys that you know what you're talking about. And he does not take that for granted. And every day he is proving to them that, like, listen, like, I know this game better than anyone. and that's how he's earned their respect. And I think that's commendable. All right. One more question. Thomas Martinez apologizes for the bring up card. You don't have to. No. My bad. No, it's not. I'm sorry if I came across a little bit terse there. I just didn't know if it was some like clickbaity rant that wasn't really relevant. But turns out it was relevant. So good question, Thomas. Do not apologize. Remember, we're bringing the positive vibes here in Hops on Pop. The positive vibes. This is the positive vibes here. See it? It's everywhere. I'm sending them to you as well. One more question. Give me a good one here. Ooh, that's a good question. From Matt. Matt asks, more likely to be the face of the Chargers 5 years from now, Brandon Staley or Justin Herbert? I'm going to go with Justin Herbert just because quarterbacks tend to be the face of the franchise more so than coaches, especially a guy like Herbert who has a skill set and has the type of potential he has. But I get a feeling that both of these guys are going to be here in 5 years. I get that sense. And so I think they'll both have their own place in the Los Angeles sports scene. But if I had to pick between one of them, I would say Herbert. Yeah. Juan Ruiz, shout out to the Wi-Fi today. No lags. And I'm gonna end this right now before I screw myself when we get a reconnecting right now. But shout out Juan for bringing that up. The Wi-Fi held strong today. I just want to tell everybody that I did absolutely nothing over the last week. Nothing to fix my Wi-Fi. But here it is working. So you tell me what the issue is. I think it's just a hit or miss thing. The Wi-Fi was fire. But here's the thing. I didn't do anything. I didn't even think about my Wi-Fi until just now. The last time I thought about my Wi-Fi was the last stream we did. So what is it? I'll tell you what it is. Are you guys ready for this? It's the positive vibes. See? We're just sending them here. We're sending them over there. We're sending them into the other room where the Wi-Fi is. Just send them. All over the place. And guess what? The Wi-Fi is just feeling that presence. The Wi-Fi is feeling those vibes. And it's like, listen, we're going to give you 40 minutes to stream to the people. To the people. And I think that's a great way to end the stream. What do you guys think? Wi-Fi is a wine guy. I love that. So do we rebrand? Maybe we just go. I'm a superstitious guy. I was a baseball player. I had a pair of batting gloves that I wore my entire high school career. They were ripped, completely ripped, showing my hand, and I kept using them because they worked. So maybe we just go Sauvignon Blanc until the Wi-Fi craps out again. Maybe. But we won't know if we've really fixed the Wi-Fi until next Thursday. I hope you guys will all join me again next Thursday. Let's wrap this thing up. So if you don't subscribe to The Athletic, link is below. That's my practice report from today with all the information on who's playing, who's not playing, what I think about the strategy, all of that stuff. So click that link and subscribe if you don't already subscribe. Preseason game Saturday. So make sure you're locked into The Athletic. Tomorrow, I got a stock report coming. 5 guys that I think are trending up, 5 guys that I think are trending down. That'll be up tomorrow morning. Saturday, I'll have all my takeaways from the game. And then back to practice on Monday with training camp reports Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday and Friday is the joint practices, so there'll be a lot to glean from that. So if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, what are you doing, man? Or woman? Or however you identify, subscribe to The Athletic. It's the best Chargers content on the internet. I guarantee you. But until next Thursday, thank you, everybody, for joining. And make sure you're tuning in The Athletic for all the content. Peace out. Have a great Thursday.